Hey,
Never.
we're back here at the Fanzeal Week in Review. That's my boy Brandon Boykin. I'm Justin Simon. A lot going on this week in sports. I know we seem to say that every week in sports, but this week in particular, because we have one of those legendary happenings where for years we've been wondering if this was going to be the final straw, how many appeals would be left. And it turns out that I really think we have reached the end of the road of the Pete Rose saga. He was again denied entry and reinstatement into baseball. His inability, Brandon, to be truthful, his inability to, own up to the mistakes he's made. And candidly, he was given a program and said, if you do these things, then you will, have a chance. And instead of doing those things, he Pete Rose the entire thing and turned out, to screw the whole thing up. And so it's really tough to argue with what the commissioner did. That said, is it time that Pete Rose gives up this whole hope of getting back in? Is there any shot of him actually ever getting back into baseball, after death maybe? Obviously, he can't be, a manager after death, although when you look at the last few years of Sparky Anderson, you could argue that. But as far as, Pete and the game go, is this the end of the road?
There's a saying that I know in a lot of, especially Midwestern households, that parents tell their children, and you're probably familiar with this. The term is that some people don't believe fat meat is greasy. Have you ever heard that saying before?
I can honestly say, in the many, many things I have heard in this lifetime, that the fat meat is greasy metaphor has somehow skipped my brain and my vernacular. So please, as you grew up in a little bit of a different part of the country than I did, explain to me the fat meat is greasy concept, if you will.
Okay, fat meat's greasy is basically saying that no matter how much you show these people, how much you tell them, we can all look and tell them that the sky is blue, that water is wet. But they're going to keep sitting there telling you, no, it's not. No, it's not. Not for me, it's not. I'm going to change. I'm going to be the one to tell you that it's not. Well, see, that's kind of the problem with Major League Baseball and with Pete Rose. Pete Rose is exactly the guy who they thought that he was.
Every time.
And Major League Baseball, I think they were kind of doing him a favor by probably not exposing all the information that they did have on him at the time. Because now that they've gone back and they looked at it, there's probably more damning information in that report than was probably let out to the public. Meaning that A, he was betting on his own teams.
Right.
B, so we don't know how much of what he was doing was skewing the games or the integrity of the game. For as far as the man himself and for all of his accomplishments on the field, there you can't question it. The guy's an automatic Hall of Famer. But the problem is he did what some people's eyes they feel is one of the most egregious things that you can do, and that's he compromised the integrity of the game for everyone, not necessarily just himself, but he was controlling the entire thing from the sideline. So I do think that this is something that they just got to let it go unless Pete's going to come clean. Pete,
well, it's almost, Brandon, it's almost irrelevant if Pete comes clean at this point, right? Because at some point, aren't you on to fourth chances, fifth chances, sixth chances? They laid out a framework that said, don't do these things, do these things, be honest with us about if you did this, that, or the other thing. And each time, Pete has managed to continuously, and in a baffling, decision to me, and I'm sure to many others, lied about them. The report came out again, and the argument came out again from baseball's commissioner that he lied, and again, when given the opportunity to salvage his place in the game, and I think it is without question he could teach people things, his connection, his knowledge, he could be an asset to the game of baseball. But if he has a 0% trustworthy factor, if you look at Pete Rose and you think that guy's a fraud, that guy's a scumbag, that guy's a cheat, and no matter what he is doing, there's a chance that he then takes what he learns from inside the game and wagers on it again, then the commissioner's really left with no choice.
Yeah. To me, Pete Rose's actions are they're the actions of a serial gambler. someone that's kind of almost desperate. You can't really take their word for what it is. And I don't know if I'm sure you've known, as we've traveled in some similar circles, you've known some people that have gambling issues. And some people can deal with their issues and they can approach them for what they are, and some people can't. Some people don't understand that gambling is a disease.
Yep.
And if you're not taking the correct steps to get the proper help that's necessary, which baseball basically laid out for him to do, they basically said, look, dude, go do the 12-step program, sing real nice and smile real nice and shut up and stay out of the spotlight. And, basically we might give you another shot. But by drumming up more noise and all of this, and you still haven't shown the effort on your part, as far as Pete Rose, I don't feel that they just feel like, he's just going to do the same thing, and we don't know what more he's going to lie to us about, because obviously he said that he was going to follow these steps and he hasn't.
Right.
And we're going on 25 years now.
Feels like 50.
Yeah. And what makes it worse, and I put Pete Rose, there are a certain group of athletes that I hold in special regard. You got your Pete Rose, your Barry Bonds, guys that have, and I'll even put Kobe in there.
Is this the all cheater division? Well, until you got to Kobe. I didn't know if the special regard was the guys that can't follow the rules or not. I didn't know if this was the Brandon Boykin convict category.
Well, no. But even if we just kept it to baseball and we said, like, Pete Rose, Barry Bonds, I don't want to throw A-Rod in there just because not a big fan, but guys that had all the talent and they really didn't need to do anything aside from be themselves to be Hall of Famers. And
wait a minute. That's two totally different categories, right? Because you have two guys who, whether or not they've been convicted of it or whether or not they've ever been found guilty, have flat out used steroids or some sort of performance enhancing drugs. Barry Bonds' head went from a size normal to a what the elephant is that?
Oh,
right?
dude, that dude's hat size is bigger than his shoe size.
Yeah, for sure, right? But Pete Rose never cheated the game itself on the field. Never any question about impropriety. I mean, he wasn't a power hitter. He wasn't one of those guys. He was a hustle guy and a hit guy. And so I think that while I understand exactly what you're saying, it's imperative to separate those two, to not let those two groups of people be in the same situation. Because what I want to do is I'm going to talk to you, and you brought this up earlier, is the Hall of Fame, right? So you bring up the guys because there's no test of character. There's no test for the Hall of Fame of what kind of person were you. Now, if you cheated the game, and you could argue that people that took steroids did, and the PED users did, I argue that since everybody was on them, or certainly a large enough percentage was on them, that you're on an even playing field. But the Hall of Fame has Ty Cobb in it. It has domestic violence abusers. It has alcoholics. It has people who questionably, I know there are accusations, some people killed people, right? And yet, Pete Rose, who, again, so let's say he can't be ever in the game of baseball again. He can't coach, can't be in the front office, whatever. The Hall of Fame is not an official baseball tie-in. It's not a partner. It's an honorary thing. And not having the all-time hits leader in your enshrinement, in your museum, to me is insane. You can't pretend these things didn't happen.
Yeah, you can't overlook the stats that are in the book, and I agree. Part of it is because we're in a different era. Mm-hmm. You bring up, some of the greatest players of all times had some of the most notorious track records. Yeah. Babe Ruth was a known womanizer, gambler, alcoholic, racist. You pick your wild card,
and that was just the first week of the season.
Yeah, and if you pick any of those things, if they played in the era today of social media, everything is magnified,
right?
And that's so it's so much more difficult. That's a different obstacle that athletes have to deal with today. Look at Michael Jordan. Would Michael Jordan still be revered today if people knew the type of personality and all the stuff, the backstories that they have on players now, he probably wouldn't be. Maybe he wouldn't have all of the same, Gatorade and McDonald's commercials, because he wouldn't seem warm and fuzzy to people as, as what he really is. So that being said, I mean, the Hall of Fame is one thing. Like you said, it's a separate entity. You can't dispute what the guys did on the field. I just think at some point, either you're gonna let the dude in, or you just got to kill it completely. It's I personally would like to see them let him in at least before he passes, and just say, okay, we'll agree with your stats and everything, but we're not gonna have you as part of anything else as far as Major League Baseball. We're not gonna include you in that stuff, but we're not gonna deny anything that you've done, your accomplishments. So we're not going to have you.
So that's an interesting question. Right? Could there be I don't know the best way to put this, but a cheater's wing, a cheater's wing, a cheater's wing,
the A-Rod wing.
Well, because here's what's going to happen, right? You're going to end up with a Baseball Hall of Fame that does not have the all-time home runs leader, the all-time hits leader, the arguably best pitcher of an entire generation in Roger Clemens, multiple members of the 500 home run club, starters, all-stars, guys, MVPs. You have the entire top generation of baseball players. It's going to be as if they didn't exist. I think you need to put a plaque up that says, this was steroid era. There were performance-enhancing drugs. There's a reason that this guy was able to hit 907 home runs in a season, or that's at least what it felt like when Bonds was crushing anything that was in vicinity of him. And it wasn't just on natural talent. And by the way, this is the thing a lot of people forget when they talk about the Bonds issue. Barry Bonds would have made the Hall of Fame based on the first half of his career long before any of the steroids were happening. He is a no doubt about it first ballot Hall of Famer long before the head grows, the arms puff out, and the swing just becomes ridiculous.
Yes. Barry Bonds, and you know this, Barry Bonds was my favorite baseball player of all time. The guy had the most, next to King Griffey Jr., had the most natural talent of any baseball player I've ever seen.
Yep.
And basically his ego got the best of him. And he saw all the attention that the other guys were getting. And he said, hey, I'm doing that too, and I won an MVP every year. I've got more MVP awards than these guys have got home runs.
Yeah, I'm not sure that he wasn't on it before the Sosa McGuire home run chase and that whole summer of home run insanity. But I do believe, and you may need a glass of water there, brother man. But I do believe that if that is the time it started, or around that time it started, that was certainly the impetus. Because you're right. He's saying I am better than any of these guys. But I want to get back to Pete Rose for 1 second, because then we got to move on. We're here at the Fanzeal Week in Review. Go to fanzeal.com, sign up for the funniest newsletter in sports. Get Brandon a glass of water. If you're mailing things UPS, he could use one overnight. Check us out on Fanzeal and at youtube.com/Fanzeal Sports. But Pete Rose, I've met the man a couple times in different situations. And every time I bring up his name, I feel the need to tell one very funny story that he shared with me. It's back in the time I was working at Fox Sports. I was at the Best Damn Sports Show period. And one of the lead talent booker, this wonderful woman named Laura Marcus, and I are standing there. And Laura asked Pete Rose about his flight coming into LA. And Pete said, we hit a lot of turbulence. And I turned to the guy next to me and said, I feel bad for you. And the guy said, why? And Pete turned to him and said, because if this plane goes down, the headline tomorrow reads, Pete Rose, 147 others dead in plane crash. And I just thought that was such a great understanding of his celebrity. And it was so well delivered. And it's true. But aside from that stardom and that level of notoriety, Pete Rose is always going to go down now as the guy who cheated baseball.
Yes.
Period. And it's a shame. It's a shame. And I still think he belongs in the Hall of Fame, but I think the commissioner did the right thing in not bringing him back.
Yeah. And I mean, I thought that commissioner was getting a lot of pressure because there are a lot of people that want to see Pete in the Hall.
Yeah.
And 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 some would say deservedly so, but it's hard. Everything is still too fresh,
Right.
and
Well,
I think eventually they are going to have to address this and do the whole cheaters wing thing. I think they are going to have to do it eventually.
we're going to bring in Austin Wood, who you can follow on Twitter at DMV_sports D_talk, because apparently Austin couldn't get a better handle than that. But I do think, Austin, it is worth trying at some point. Austin, as you look at what Pete Rose tried this week, and as you look at what baseball did, do you agree with the decision that baseball made?
Yes, because he completely cheated. He was gambling on against Major League Baseball team. He knew what he was doing. He said, "Oh, I did it." Well, no shit, he did it, and he deserves punishment.
I got to drop it here only because we don't allow cursing here, although I agree with what you're saying. So thank you for popping in. I appreciate you popping in, and we'll definitely have you again sometime. But we do have a no curse word policy at Fanzeal because the kids are watching, even if they're not. So as we stay on baseball, and Brendan, and we're going to get, by the way, we're here at the Fanzeal Sports Week in Review. We're going to talk about LeBron and what happened at the game last night, the whole situation with golfing. And the golfer's wife and the safety issue there. But as we're on baseball, you mentioned something you saw from the Dodgers earlier today. And you want to bring up the press release you saw, because I think as we talk about safety and we talk about fan participation, that this is vitally important.
Yes. The Dodgers basically did a press release stating that they're going to extend the netting down the baselines for fan safety. And I don't understand how this is something that is just now happening. And I mean, we've gone to a number of baseball games,
dozens, hundreds, maybe, sure.
And I don't know about anybody else, but whenever I go to a baseball game, it's like being on a football field at all times. Keep your head on a swivel,
right?
Because I've seen bat fragments fly up, and we're not talking about in the high seats, but if you're paying good money to sit on first baseline, and this team's got a lot of lefties, hello,
right?
What are you doing? Pay attention. And I mean, we've all seen and heard of people getting hurt, and
every year, every team. 20, 30 times a year without fail. And the people who make the argument that it changes the game and the fan participation, the fan closeness, the best seats in the house are all behind the net.
Yes.
The ones that you are paying the most money for are all behind the net. So if you're down there 20 feet beyond first baseline, you already don't have the best seats in the house. You might as well go home with all your teeth intact. To me, this is such a no-brainer rule. I've sat, I've been fortunate enough to be have good tickets. I've been fortunate enough to have good passes. I've had a very fascinating career up to this stage, and I've sat 2 rows behind the plate. I've sat 10 rows behind the plate. And yes, for the first few innings, the net is like, I kind of wish I was seeing, not around the net. And I wish by the third inning, you don't even realize it's there anymore. It just becomes background. And to have the safety, literally the safety net, to make sure that you go home in one piece, that you don't get stabbed by a bat shard, that some ball doesn't hit you in the face. I mean, you played baseball collegiately. You played at a very, very high level in high school. And you and I still, we play softball together, and we've worked out and we play basketball, and you have tremendous reflexes. Friends, if you saw him, don't look at his size. He's much quicker and much faster than that. And as
I'm much faster than I look.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm Usain Bolt.
The legs move. It's they keep going. But you have really, really quick reaction time. If you were sitting 3 rows back, somewhere mid dugout, first baseline, and a line drive comes right at you, what are your odds of getting out of the way, or at least getting a handle on it to knock it out of the way?
Slim and none, because I guarantee you I've got a mouthful of garlic fries. So, and if garlic fries are in the equation, I'm going to lose every time. And dude, it just makes sense. And especially now, being a father, and even though my kid is built like a tank, and I know that he can run through a wall if he wants to. As a parent, I have to look at that situation when I get there. So I have to say, okay, hello, yeah, there's a ball that could be coming his way. Let me go ahead and be the one to shield him and protect him. Not like some of these great fathers we see holding the baby and catching the foul ball, which, hey, if you can pull that off, then great. But when you got Cespedes up there, he's taking a cut and the ball comes straight back and there's no cushion. I don't care how quick you are, how good a glove you have. And for most people that weren't athletes, they're not going to be able to judge the distance and the timing fast enough. And that ball is very hard.
And it's very, very fast. And it spins and it turns and it's not coming at you in a straight line. Yeah. This is not like, somebody tosses you the remote control at home and you get it 100 times out of 100. So you think you can go to a baseball game and grab something off the bat of Adrian Gonzalez, or you're wrong. Yeah. Yes, there's always the fly ball catch, like you mentioned, the one-handed baby grab, which is my favorite, or the beer grab where the guy just refuses to drop the beer.
Yeah.
Right? And I dig that. And they're great Sports Center highlights. But the 50 you don't see are the balls hitting the people in the chest and hitting the people in the arm. And I was very fortunate as a youngster. I was at a Mets game and maybe 12, 13 years old and, yapping away and having a good time. And we're about, third baseline, call it 45 feet up the line, 7, 8, 9 rows back, Mets game. And all of a sudden, my friend's father jams his hand onto my head. Now, I'm 13 years old. I'm wondering what the heck he's doing. And I go to turn my head to look at him, and I can't move. And right at that moment, a ball goes screwing right by my face. Wow. If he doesn't hold my head at that exact moment, that thing is hitting me smack in the nose. I break my nose for sure. Who knows what else I break? There's a concussion, and you're a kid. And at 4U_Nico brings up another thing that it's pitchers and hitters. The guys on the bench who understand the speed, they can't always get out of the way. Mm-hmm. And batters, when they're being thrown at, can't get out of the way. So the average Joe fan has almost no shot. And I want to thank at 4U_Nico for that point, because it's a very valid one. That even those who play the game, who look at the pitches, how many pitches these guys face between batting practice and the game? 100 a day, give or take, right? So thousands a week, and that's not even under pregame and postgame in the cage, under the stadium. This is just a brutal, brutal situation if you don't do this. So I applaud the Dodgers certainly for the nets. I applaud Major League Baseball for the movement towards stadium-wide netting. At some point, the safety is much more important than the fan experience. You wouldn't play hockey without the boards. You wouldn't play hockey without the netting around the stadium.
I would actually like a hockey game without the boards, though.
Right. Well, they keep the toothless guys on the ice as opposed to in the stands. Yeah, that's kind of the deal. But I just think that baseball is going to get a lot of gruff from fans who think it's unnecessary, and I think that over the course of a season, you're going to see half dozen bats, at least 3-4 dozen balls that we're going right for people, flat out right for people, because you'll see the flinch, you'll see them jump back, and know what? Go ahead, B.
Well, and this is the thing that I don't really get about it. It's a net. You can see through it. Like, what's the big... Like, I really don't understand why some people have such a problem with this, because I really think this. If you have a problem with it, how about this? We let you run around down the field. We're going to let you run down the line. And we're going to go ahead and load up on those pitching machines with 5 balls. Right. Now, you're not going to know when we're going to shoot it at you. But it's gonna get really close, and we're gonna try and stick a glove out there to catch it before it hits you right in the chest. Now, most people are gonna be like, "Oh, it's gonna be far away. I can outrun it." No, you're not. All it's gonna take is for one ball to get close enough to hit someone, and they're gonna be like, "Oh my god!" And then they're gonna look down, and they're gonna see a little puddle of lemonade down on the field, and they're gonna say. That wasn't there before. So I guess we do need these nets. So
Well, that's actually an interesting thing. So now we have a challenge, right? So everybody watching the Fanzeal Blab now, and those who are going to watch it at the youtube.com/Fanzeal Sports and on fanzeal.com in the video section, we have a challenge for you. You think that there shouldn't be nets on the field. You think that they're unnecessary, they're a safety precaution. We want you to go to your closest batting cage. We want you to get your glove, and we want you to get into the super fast cage, the one that's somewhere north of 85 miles an hour, right? 85 to 90, somewhere in the 87 to 92 range, because most of the balls are coming out faster than that.
Yeah.
And I want you to stand at the very, very back of the cage. And as you mentioned, you don't know where the balls are going in the stadium. And if you've been in one of those cages and it's the real good cages, you don't know where the balls are going there either. And let's see how many you can duck out of the way of when they're coming in 90 miles an hour. You know, you can put pads on. We'll let you wear the catcher's gear, so you don't actually hurt yourself. But that's our Fanzeal challenge to you. Put all your gear on, and by the way, we cannot legally held responsible. The lawyers make us say that at the end. You look like right around the bottom where the hands are. There's some small print there, even if you can't see it. But that's our challenge. So if you're one of those people who says nets are for wussies and it's ruining the game, and I'm a purist,
video.
Right. And that's right. You have to submit it to @Fanzeal Twitter, your video. If you do that and you avoid all the balls, Brandon and I will buy you 2 tickets to any game of your choice, regular season in any stadium on us. And of course, we're going to fill it back to Fanzeal, but that's neither here nor there. And we'll actually tweet about how amazing you are, and your cat-like reflexes will turn you into a fantastic GIF. That is our new Fanzeal challenge for the month. We'll be tweeting that out later. We'll be sharing that on Facebook. So remember, we are saying it here now. You cannot sue us because our lawyers, well, they didn't even know we were doing this. And trust me, there is a lawyer somewhere in the back room right now, not very happy with Brandon Boykin or I, but it wouldn't be the first time I pissed off a lawyer. I'm kind of used to that by now. I'm going to do a quick reset for everybody who joined us. You are at the Fanzeal Sports Week in Review. This is our weekly Friday night blab. As the 2016 rolls around, look for more blabs throughout the week from Brandon and I. We're going to have some special guests coming in. We've got a couple Kansas City Royals going to be on the docket. We've got a few Olympians have already signed up. There's one of the things I really like that's coming our way. And you don't want to give away too much, but professional skateboarder Greg Lutzka. Okay, so I gave the whole store away. He's coming on here in a few weeks. Great guy, very interesting. So Fanzeal is a place where fans get to connect with athletes, ask them questions that they want answered, and the athletes they're going to get back to you. So send us your questions at Fanzeal. Go onto the site at fanzeal.com, and my man, Jesus, you need like a what do we got going over there? You need a new lung or something?
Yeah. This is why kids get the cootie bugs and they give it to the parents.
Phew. Well, you're fighting through the pain. Let's have you. We're gonna have you get up for 1 second, go get yourself a glass of water, my man, because we'll bring Brandon right back. And that's I am not a father, so I'm fortunate as much as most of the time I don't have to deal with kid cooties. But at some point later this year, early 2016, we're going to bring Brandon's son on, and we'll play some probably for March Madness. We'll have Baby Hulk, and you can't believe how big this kid is. He's great. We're going to have Baby Hulk pick our March Madness teams, and whoever he picks is who we're going to put in our bracket. And we'll have a lot of fun with that.
He knows college football.
So the Baby Hulk March Madness will come later, but we're going to blame Brandon's current predicament and his current wellness on a small child because, well, the child can't say anything about it. The Fanzeal Blab is going to continue. We're going to move back on to we're going to stay on safety but move sports. Last night, I think the game was. Let me just confirm here. I don't believe it was in Cleveland. I could be wrong. Let's see. It was in Cleveland. So Ellie Day, who is golfer Jason Day's wife, was watching the Thunder Cavs game from Cleveland, and LeBron, being the 6'8", listed at 250, and I think that's probably one of those media guide, little lighter than he really is things, goes after a loose ball, as is his prerogative. It's his game, his court. And he takes this poor woman out. Just absolutely takes her out. She left in a neck brace, on a stretcher, and I'm candidly surprised. And thankfully, Ellie Day tweeted that she's okay, she's sore, she's exhausted, and she felt like she was in a car accident, but that overall she's okay. I'm surprised, Brendan Boykin, and you've been to a lot of basketball games, and I agreed at For You _ Nico, this is a very sad thing, but is this a situation where we also have to worry about safety? I know we've talked about video cameras and the camera being too close to the baseline, but are the fans too close to the sidelines?
Well, there's two sides to this. First, let me state how amazed I am by this guy's wife. Ellie is her name, I believe. Yep. Ellie is a trooper.
And then some.
Ellie just had a baby 2 months ago.
I did not catch that.
Yes. I just found that out a little bit earlier today. They were talking to his agent, and they were, I believe they held her overnight and treating her for concussion-like symptoms. But, yeah, she just had a baby 2 months ago. Now, first thing that comes to mind is, you just had a baby 2 months ago. Wow, you're at the Cavs game? I mean, that's pretty impressive.
There is some money for nanny help in that family. Not to say that, but you couldn't have given it to a parent, and I don't want to get into their personal financial situation, but they're not hurting should they need somebody to take care of the kid.
Junior. Yeah.
But I agree. I didn't know that she had just given birth 2 months ago. That's just adds so much to the story.
Yeah, and I understand because the first thing the owners are going to say is that, well, now you're jumping into our pockets as far as revenue because those are the expensive seats. Those are premium seats. Now, I don't know what those seats go for in Cleveland, but I know how much they go for at Staples Center. And I know that you can't buy those seats just for one game, and you can't buy just one.
Right, sure. And you're talking about a celebrity golfer. I've got to go under the assumption that was either the sports agent's tickets or he called in. I have friends in the NBA, and when celebrities call in, there are always top level tickets put aside. Kid Rock calls in Detroit, Kid Rock's going to be courtside. Jay-Z calls in New York, or really anywhere Jay-Z wants to go, and they're going to put him courtside. So when you have a PGA champion golfer, it's not really surprising to me that there were tickets available. So it's not even a matter of how much those tickets cost, but should they be moved back?
Well, the thing is, everybody wants to be seen, and the NBA has already gone through the precautions. They moved the cheerleaders back. I don't know if you've noticed, like at the Laker games, the Laker girls used to sit right under the basket. They don't sit down there anymore. Now it's just the photographers. So they've gone through the steps to make changes with these. But on the sidelines, I mean, how far back do you want to move them?
I mean, I don't know. They just seem to be so close. And these guys, and it's not like they wouldn't be diving for a ball anyway. I get that. But they
what if she was in the third row and she still got hit? LeBron's airborne. It doesn't matter where you are. You're going to get hit.
Yeah, no, I agree. It just I don't know what the answer is. And by the way, we have a new record for our farthest fan to join us on Blab. Omer, and I'm probably pronouncing this wrong, Al-Kubayasi, just joining us from in Baghdad, Iraq. So a big thank you for joining the Blab and for setting our new record of furthest fan. So we're happy to have you here. I don't think that the fans need to move back to Iraq. That's a little far from the sidelines for safety issues. But and again, this isn't a baseball situation where you can't stop the ball, and this isn't a hockey situation where you can't stop the puck. A 6'8" man's coming at you. You're going to try to get out of the way, even if you can't.
Yeah.
But
okay, we're here in LA.
Right.
For Christmas, whatever game is at Staples Center, every star wants to be out there. people watch the games here to see the Stars because they're not watching to see the Lakers anymore. So, are you going to you're going to let all that money walk out the door? The NBA needs to as well.
If 5 minutes, 5 feet, it goes back. And by the way, I do want to make sure that everybody knows that Brandon Boykin is currently having his Michael Jordan flu game. And so we're giving him a lot of credit for toughing it out because we gave him the option of calling out sick. He is under the weather. That's the cough you hear. And so we hope that isn't reverberating too much for years. But he came out to play. He's a team player, and he did want to be part of the broadcast. So we give our man Brandon a lot of credit. But you're right. You know what? I don't have the answer. Things like that scare me, and you don't want to take away from the spectator sport. But we say all the time that people are getting bigger, stronger, faster on the field, on the court, in the rink. And you know who is not getting bigger, stronger, faster? The fans. We're getting fatter. We're certainly getting fatter, but we're getting slower. And so the difference in reaction time, the difference in size, it does concern me.
Well, why don't we just go ahead and make it like hockey then, and just basically surround the entire court? And I mean, because that's essentially the only way that we're going to prevent anything from happening.
Right. Well, now I feel like my Jewish grandmother, and just kind of want to wrap everything in bubble tape. All right, so I don't have the answer for the NBA. I do think that I do think that as baseball continues, I do think they need the nets. There's something that has to be done in the NBA. I don't know what it is. We've got about 10 minutes left here in this Fanzeal Blab. We appreciate everybody checking us out. Remember to go to fanzeal.com, sign up for the Fanzeal newsletter. Comes out every Monday morning. It's the funniest newsletter in sports, the top 5 done by our writers. Cracks me up every week. But I do want to, because it is a very, very important weekend in the NFL, make sure that we touch upon some things that are going on. You, sir, are not the only sick dad. Tom Brady is now questionable with potential flu-like symptoms. Obviously, a huge, huge deal for New England. Is there any shot you can see where Tom Brady is not under center against Tennessee on Sunday?
Who's their backup?
Jimmy Garoppolo.
Jimmy's been biding his time, waiting to get a shot.
Yep.
I think either Tom is going to start the game, and he's going to go out there and give it a whirl. And if he's not feeling it by halftime, he's pulling himself out.
Stop. There is no situation you can think of that Tom Brady is pulling himself out of a football game in which he is already on the field, save for the fact that New England's up 40-0 at halftime.
Yeah, if they're up 40-0, what's the purpose of keep playing?
They're not going to be up 40-0. They don't have a receiver left on the field. They're on to like their 97th running back. You're the next call. They're working out guys who retired 12 years ago.
Dude, they're playing Tennessee.
I know, but you got to stop Mariota. The Marcus.
And who else?
Well, and 3 guys and a bag of chips.
Exactly.
I still don't. Yeah, come on. They're not going to be up 40 points.
Dude, I know they've got. Somebody told me that they sent a text message to Eric Dickerson yesterday.
Stop it. Stop it. By the way, you seen Eric recently? The man looks good.
Yeah.
He's in his 50s. He looks like he could still go.
Dude, between him and Herschel Walker, have you seen what Herschel Walker looks like?
Dude, Herschel still does his, I think it's 2,000 sit-ups and 1,000 push-ups every day.
Yes, and he said he's never lifted a weight. And the guy does MMA right now.
Well, that was the Bo Jackson theory, just to get off topic. He just was so naturally, he hated lifting weights. He hated working out. He was just so naturally gifted. I remember George Brett once said, I'd give up bread for an entire life just to look like him. And they asked if he would give up beer, and he thought about it and said maybe. So I want to run through the schedule real quick. I think there's a couple real gimme games, and then there's a couple we'll debate here. If you have a different opinion, hit us up at Fanzeal on Twitter and send us your picks. New Jersey at a very, very depleted Dallas squad. I think that's an easy Jets win the way they've been playing. It's in Dallas, but their season's over. Des Bryant is certainly injured, whether or not he's admitting it or not, and they don't have a quarterback answer. I think the Jets go in there, take this, and keep themselves in the playoff hunt.
No Matt Castle? You don't believe in Matt Castle? Or
Matt Castle's wife doesn't believe in Matt Castle. She's got money riding on the Jets.
Oh, okay. Smart woman. Yeah, Jets by 10.
Yep, easy. KC at Baltimore. Baltimore season is over. I think the latest count was 19 players done for the year with injuries. They're playing seemingly a backup every possible position. They're outgunned, they're outmanned, and it's a season from hell for those guys. They're a much more talented team than their record shows, but that's only when they're healthy. I think the Chiefs continue that winning streak, and I think the Chiefs go into the playoffs on quite a ride.
Yes. I actually think the Chiefs are one of the top 4 most dangerous teams in the league right now. Nobody wants to play them.
Yep.
They are, if you look at a lot of the stats, Alex Smith has found the long ball, or a longer ball.
Longer ball.
But, hey, they're pretty dangerous right now.
Yep. Well, and they're not going to turn the ball over. They're going to play strong defense, and they're going to make you, they're going to 5 and 10 yard dump you to death, but they get down the field that way. And they've got some weapons. And you really, Andy Reid, for all the crap that Philadelphia gave him, is still an elite coach. Is he Belichick? No. Is he Walsh or Shula? No. But here's a guy who's gotten like 10 different, obviously 2 organizations, but 10, I think he's got 10 runs in the playoffs. He's made a Super Bowl. He's got multiple conference championship games. The guy can coach. Whether or not you like the way he plays or whether or not you like his style, you can't argue that the man can coach. So it'll be interesting to see what he does there. Our next gimme game, and this is just one of those, hey, Brendan, Cleveland's playing Seattle. Seattle wins.
Yeah, how much did Seattle win by?
What they win last week by? About 30 over Cleveland? Let's call it 30 again.
Yeah, 30.
I'll give you that. Then we have a couple games I don't care about. Neither does anybody else. No playoff implications. Atlanta at Jacksonville. I imagine Jacksonville's going to win. They've been playing very well, and Atlanta's playing bad, but, who cares game?
Yep.
I think the same thing for Dolphins San Diego. They're both terrible, both looking for new coaches next year. In a game of who's worse, I think San Diego's probably worse by a little.
I think those guys are going to be in the back playing craps before they come out. Look, did you get your game check? Come on, dude. We got a football game. No, we don't. Nobody wants to play.
No, we don't. We're out. Cincinnati at San Francisco. Nothing to play for the Niners. They're done. Cincinnati with a backup quarterback, A.J. McCarron. But remember, this is a guy that led Alabama to national titles. They say they're not changing the offense for him. I don't think he's going to be Andy Dalton, but he played well in relief last week. I'm going to give the game to the Bengals.
Really?
Oh, you're not?
Really?
In a battle of backups, you don't think McCarron is better than Blaine Gabbert?
Blaine Gabbert? Oh,
yeah.
I can't believe I'm saying this. Blaine Gabbert has actually been playing decent.
Say it.
Decent.
Say it.
He's been
Say
playing
it.
decent.
Say it.
He's been playing decent for Blaine Gabbert. The guy's playing for a contract. San Francisco has nothing to lose.
Bengals win. I'm done with you.
I could see San Francisco buy a touchdown.
No shot. We're putting a cocktail on it. Okay, now the games that do matter, and the really, really important games. I don't know what that was, but you need to go see a doctor. Arizona at Philadelphia Sunday night. This is a big game. It's a big game for NFC playoffs.
Better not say anything stupid right now.
You have my attention. What is it possibly I was going to say stupid right now?
I said, I'm just saying you better not say anything stupid right now.
That the Eagles could win this game?
Yes.
The Eagles could win this game. Arizona's a better team. They are a better offense. They are a better defense. I will give you on both of those things.
Better special
That said, they're better on I don't know that they're better on special teams. The Eagles special teams done a really nice job this year. That even if you call that a push, I probably give a slight advantage to the Eagles special teams. Not by much, but maybe a little. They've done a really nice job. I give credit where credit's due. Darren Sproles, really, really tough to defend. They get down there, they cover. They got good coverage units. Even you just see them. They've done some things this year, but the game's in Philadelphia, in the cold, in a very hard stadium to play in, with fans And I agree. Nico's back. These are the games that Arizona has historically, kind of sleptwalked through. This is a game Philadelphia could steal. DeMarco Murray's going to be on the bench. They're going to go with the Ryan Matthews-Sproles combination because I think Chip's had about enough of DeMarco running backwards. Is Arizona the better team on paper? Yes. Is 9 times out of 10 Arizona the better team on the field? Yes. Are they likely to win this game? Yes. Is it a layup? Absolutely not. And I think that if Arizona goes in, and that's not like a Bruce Arians team to do, but if Arizona goes in and thinks they've got this, Philly walks out of there with a W.
Mr. Simon.
My man, go ahead. Why don't you take it for here for a second?
Everything you said is true. However, there's not a young man, but there's a man standing behind center over there by the name of Carson Palmer. He's got a couple of guys, couple of receivers that have done some pretty good work this season.
Some gentlemen by the name of Floyd and Brown and others.
Yes, John Brown with the boogie down and all that.
Guy by the name of Fitzgerald who can play just a little bit.
Yeah. In particular, I like to focus on my man, Boogie Brown. Because the dude looks like he's about 5'6", but he got the pop lock in and all that. The one thing that he does is he stretches the field. Sure. Fitzgerald and Floyd, they're great cutting across the middle, hitting those slants, and they're good possession receivers, but Brown is the home run hitter. He's really stretching the defense on the other side. Philly, I'm trying, Philly is kind of like a Luther Vandross, Jerry Curl. It's not all the way there, like you're trying to be there, but it's like the curl's supposed to go all the way, and you get halfway, and then you're like, Every time I want to go there with Philly, they stop me like halfway, no. We know we look good on paper, and we've got the speed, and we got the angles, and we got the program, but no, we're not going to do it. No, we're not going to play to our potential. No, we should beat this team. We should beat that team. We're not going to beat them. We're supposed to lose to this team. We're supposed to lose to the Patriots, and we're going to beat them. You know why? To give people something to talk about, because you know what? We're a better team than we show that we are.
Right.
So,
well, but that's the thing, right? If Philly gets crushed by New England last week, which everybody anticipates, nobody's even talking about this game.
Exactly.
Right? But Arizona is only going in as a 3.5-point favorite. That's it.
Yeah. I mean, the one fear that I have is for Carson Palmer and his old crusty knees, because when it gets cold, them bones get to aching and they get to check and click. Man, those defensive ends on the other side, they can hear them bones rattling, and they know they don't even have to look up or search around for him. They just hear his bones crackling, and they're going to reach out and touch him. Well,
and don't forget, the Eagles' problem for most of the year has been linebacker health. They had depth, but they had a lot of health. But now you're facing an Arizona team that can't run, right? They've lost all their running backs. They're down to their third and fourth string guy. Guys are signing off the street, so they don't have to really worry about whether or not Arizona is going to put in Chris Johnson, who's going to run for 100. This is a throw-first team, so Philly can make a defense to play against that. Do I know if that's going to happen? I don't. Being raised in Philadelphia, being raised as an Eagles fan, and hoping – beyond all hope that they can somehow get the division at this stage, because being in the middle of the pack and not even having a shot at the playoffs would be worse than, a couple weeks ago I said I just wish they'd lose them all. Now they've won a couple in a row. At this stage, I'd rather them win out. I'm going to go for the Eagles.
Division. They've still got a shot at that crummy division.
Oh, everybody's got a shot. It's awful. It's awful.
If me and you, we can get the one-armed man to be the quarterback, we might be able to put a team together and get in there and do a little damage.
All right, we got 5 minutes left, so let me get your call. I'm going to go Philadelphia with the understanding that I don't have any faith in my own call.
Yeah, I'm going Arizona by a touchdown. I think it'll be an entertaining game, but it's gonna if it turns into gunslingers shooting it out. Do you have more faith in Carson Palmer or Sam Bradford?
Carson Palmer about 7 times over.
Yeah,
not even close.
Exactly my point.
Not even close. But If it turns into the guy who tries for the long bomb and throws the interception,
that's Sam Bradford.
I don't agree. I don't think I think Carson Palmer's, and Bruce Arians, they take more chances. And they could, in a close game, go for that long downfield 30, 40-yard throw, the rainbow, and Philly does have some decent defensive backs. Are they Seattle? No.
They had a better one last year.
Yeah, you can talk about it for a second while I move on to the next game.
They had a better one last year, but, that's neither here nor there. He's getting some pub down in the Pittsburgh, and,
Well, Brandon's cousin by the same name plays for the Steelers, which gives us an opportunity to go into that game. We've got 4 minutes left, so make it quick. Denver at Pittsburgh. Who do you like?
Pittsburgh, baby. Steeler Nation. Run them over. Cart somebody off.
I have the Denver defense in my fantasy football playoffs, and that has me very sad because the way Pittsburgh has been playing, they're just an impossible team to cover.
Dude, whoever they play, I feel sorry for their secondary. Every game. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
They've got too many weapons. And they've got this big, burly, extra offensive lineman that plays quarterback.
Yep.
And he can chunk
You can't get him down. He doesn't throw interceptions. He doesn't fumble. If you are playing fantasy sports this weekend, yes, I understand Denver is the top-rated defense in the league. I get that. But you may want to look somewhere else because, as I said, Big Ben doesn't throw interceptions. As Brandon said, you can't get him down, so you're not going to sack him much. Yeah. And this team could easily put up 30 points.
Easy.
On a very good Denver defense. So, be careful about what you do there. Quick, a few more around the league just to make sure we touch on them. Houston and Indianapolis for another garbage division. I'm going Indianapolis for another reason that I can't care.
Yeah, I'll go Houston just to –
because you don't care either.
Yeah.
Chicago at Minnesota, games in Minnesota. I'm going to go Minnesota because they actually have something to play for.
Same here.
Well, Carolina at New York. And we're going to have to get on this next week, by the way, but this is the most underrated great team of the last 20 years. I'm sorry. I don't care who you play. You are undefeated at this point in the NFL schedule. You are a great team. I think Carolina goes in there, and I understand what the Giants do against, the Giant teams in the NFL. I think Carolina smacks them around.
Yes. And I enjoy any team that can smack Eli around.
Yeah.
Everybody's saying that this is going to be their toughest test and this, that, and the other. Odell Beckham's going to do this, that, and the other. You know what? Odell Beckham can run and jump and prance all he wants to because Eli's going to be running for his life. That right. Panthers defense is no joke.
And at some point in the next couple of weeks when we bring up the Panthers, I want to talk about the racism surrounding the criticism of Cam Newton because it's real. And we'll get into that later. We don't have time today. Buffalo, Washington, don't care. I'll go with Washington or Buffalo just because it would help the Eagles.
Yeah, Buffalo. LaShawn.
Green Bay in Oakland could be a closer game than it should be. Oakland by a nose, I don't know. Green Bay hasn't been great.
Yeah.
Oakland could win any given Sunday.
Green Bay, is this the week that Green Bay turns it around? Which Green Bay shows up?
I don't know.
That's a hard call. I'm going with Green Bay on kicking a field goal at the end to win it.
All right. Well, you're wrong, but that's okay. And last game, the Monday night game, another who really cares game between awful teams that could at least be interesting because offenses could rule. Detroit at New Orleans in Louisiana. Who do you like?
Wow. Do I have to pick a winner out of these two? Jesus. They're in New Orleans.
Yep.
I'll go with Detroit.
All right. Well, I'll go with New Orleans just so I can call you on Monday night and start giving you crap about halftime. Hey, we appreciate everybody. That's right, by the way, Nico. Monday is a fantasy sports game only, and I've got Ebron in, so I need 2 touchdowns from him because I got a money league going on, and I'm in the semifinals in 2 different leagues. I'm pretending to know what I talk about in fantasy football, but wait till we get to fantasy baseball. I'll actually be able to help you out. Hey, for everybody who popped in today, we really appreciate it. That is my boy, Brandon Boykin. I am Justin Simon. You are watching the Fanzeal Weekend Review. When you tweet at Brandon Boykin, that's @_B Boykin. Give him a little love for playing through the flu tonight. This was his Michael Jordan appearance. I would say he came through strong and hit that final three-pointer. The cough looked like it was going to be the victor for a while, but my man hung in there and really showed up. The players play when it's game time, so give him all the props in the world. I'm going to give him a little extra love here, couple extra hands up. But we'll be back here next Friday, roughly the same time. Actually, Brandon, that's a lie. Next Friday is Christmas.
Is Friday Christmas or is Thursday? Oh yeah, Friday. Wow,
Friday's Christmas. So we won't be here. See how we lied to you? We will find another time to hop on during the week and touch base everybody. But from everybody here at Fanzeal, we appreciate the support you've given us in our first year. Have a wonderful, healthy holiday season. We hope you get everything under your Christmas trees or have already gotten everything under your menorah that you were hoping for. And we will see you at a to-be-determined time next week here on the Fanzeal Sports and Review. We will talk to you then, everybody. Have a great weekend.
Thank you, everybody. Kiss the babies.